There's no better person to tell you about this vision and the journey of it than Mr. Ed Jamel. He is the director here, and this is your baby, right?
So far.
Yeah,
it's growing up.
Other people, but
it's growing up fast.
Yeah, yeah. So, Mr. Ed Jamel, director of the Edgar Cayce Center, Houston.
Okay. Thank you very much, Greg. Yeah. Well, welcome you all, and look forward to a pleasant afternoon and early evening. Basically, what is the A.R.E? Peggy Sue asked me to talk a little bit about A.R.E, Edgar Cayce, and the center here. Edgar Cayce, of course, is known as the Sleeping Prophet. He was noted in the American Journal of Medicine as the originator of holistic medicine in the United States. And in his lifetime, he was able to change his consciousness 15,000 times. And while in that state, you could ask questions and he would give answers. 64% of those readings, as we call them, had to do with health. Everything from A to Z in the health readings. And most of his remedies are to be found in nature, things that were available in the United States. Didn't have to go to China to get ginseng or South America to get something else. Because he says that nature provides us in our area everything we need for a healthy life. So most of the readings had to do with health. There were a number of things that Cayce got involved with. People asked questions other than health, as you might expect. They're historical readings, and his idea of history was quite revolutionary in his day. Humankind had been active, at least the species as we know it, Homo sapiens and Homo sapiens sapiens, for 1 million years. Well, in the 20s and 30s, that was laughable. He talked about archaeology. So the organization is involved not only in the health readings, but also historical research. What about the Houston Center? This is the first property owned by A.R.E. Outside of Virginia Beach, Virginia, the headquarters, in its whole history. They want to make this as a model for regional centers all over the world. We already have centers in London and France and Sweden and Ecuador and Tokyo and Singapore, just all over the world, but not properties and not the facility with offering the full services that the organization offers. So we're here for two reasons. One is to service our members with the remedies, the studies, lectures, symposium based on the Edgar Cayce material. And two, we're here to offer the material to the curious who are not members but might become members. So we're here to project the image of Edgar Cayce in the A.R.E. People have asked me, why is someone who died in 1945 relevant today? And the reason Cayce is relevant, say in the field of medicine, is because he gave a diagnosis and analysis of the human body and the way it functions and its interconnectedness that is still unique in medicine today. I've got a file cabinet full of doctors' revelations. They just discovered this. One of them would be like the carbon ash with the green light for curing cancer. And I says, yes, we've been doing it for 80 years. And any number of other medical analysis and diagnosis and things that you can do to help heal the body and bring in balance. Cayce's approach is balance. So Cayce's analysis of the human condition is that we are, first of all, made in the image and likeness of God. So at this point, I usually stop and I say that we don't ask people to believe in a God or believe in a spirit, that you have a soul. But we do ask you to be curious enough to investigate. So we offer means by which you can establish a relationship with God and discover your own spiritual self. That's part of what we do here. So body, mind, and spirit. The organization offers mental attitudes and emotions. One of Cayce's things getting into attitudes and emotions. You can't hate your neighbor and not have stomach upset or heart trouble. So he got into the psychology of health as it affects the physical body. As part of the spiritual dimension, Mr. Cayce said, have a purpose for life. Have something to live for. It's not enough just to be good for something. So this is the overall scenario that the organization here in Houston is involved in, helping people to realize their true nature. We get, because Houston is a medical center, we get an awful lot of inquiries about health conditions. We ship products all over the world, literally, out of Houston, more so than they probably do at Virginia Beach. So we're involved in a lot of activities. Cayce saw the human condition, not only body, mind, and spirit, but the nature of mankind and the earth. What is this all about? He says time, space, and patience. Time he diagnoses as an interval between two events, a measure between two events. Space is the measure of our understanding of the relationship between those two events. And patience is the measure of our understanding of the purpose behind those events. So we get into this esoteric philosophy that we're all in a dream state. Plato said, we're looking at shadows on the wall, and we call that reality. He said there is an ultimate reality behind everything that we see. And time and space and patience is the blessings that we have to begin to understand the nature of creation. There are a lot of interesting and exciting things in the Cayce material. For example, there are readings on science. Edgar Cayce gave readings for Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, a man by the name of Harrison who put IBM on the map. A few years ago, we had two scientists from NASA come up and sit at our computers and download all the information in the Cayce readings about gravity and anti-gravity from NASA. So there's a scientific aspect to the readings as well. So it's actually an exciting adventure, but the greatest adventure is our ability to discover our own self. That is the ultimate frontier of who we really are and why we're here and where we're going. At this point, I usually stop and ask people if they have any questions that they'd like to ask or comments about anything that's been said.
Well, I just was looking, I had a question, but I guess I have one. So you're expanding the center? I mean, I don't know if you talked about that, and I don't know if you want just questions about it.
Well, this is
I'd love to hear about that.
We are expanding the center. This is the first step. We finished out this whole half of the building, and a lot of people that let me stop and step back here for a minute. The headquarters at Virginia Beach is like a museum to Edgar Cayce, and it's a headquarters that does the research into the Cayce material, the archaeological tours, the archaeological excavations and things which they're doing in Egypt and Israel, the Caribbean, and South Central America. All that comes from headquarters. When you get into the field, you're dealing with a different situation. The members go to headquarters, and so they have a certain expectation and a certain background into the Cayce material. When you get into a regional center, it's a different ballgame. We're not going to get members visiting us from Japan necessarily. We deal with the local people and the environment. And that's why we rent out rooms here, and we have people who are sympathetic or in the same ballpark with the Cayce philosophy. We're not going to rent, although I have a deep respect for the National Conference of Atheists or whatever their organization is, but you won't find atheists having an office here. So the expansion is eventually, and I haven't told headquarters this, I see a two-story building. So we own not only this property, but the lot at the end there. And I envision the expansion of a regional center that will take care of many states, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, as well as the state of Texas. But it's going to be a model for regional centers elsewhere, around the country and nationally, internationally. So we do have some expansionist ideas. Eventually, we'll be working with archaeologists out of the center here, do more research with the medical readings, providing greater services. We already have a spa set up. We have a massage therapist and a colonic hydrotherapist, Elaine Ruska here, who is studied under Harold Riley, practiced at Virginia Beach, taught at the Harold Riley School of Massotherapy, moved to Houston, and she is now our massage therapist and our colon hydrotherapist. So we anticipate expanding that whole scene as well. We're already doing continuing education in the field of massage. So about 4 times a year we have teachers come in and work with people who want to do the continuing education with massage. That will expand as well. This January we have a lady coming from Virginia Beach who's going to talk about ancient Egypt and its impact on the world today and the interests that we have. Next November we will do the Ancient Mysteries Conference, where we'll bring in archaeological experts from around the world to do lectures here for a weekend. So it's developing. So this is...
Well, now I have another question. So, you know, Houston, I don't know if you know this, but you may have known this already, but it's home to representatives of every world's major religion and every world's major sub-religion. And also we're obviously a wellness city, with, as you said, the medical center. What is the, I mean, are you seeing that? What's the reaction to the center here? And are you seeing, where is our place as far as wellness, a wellness city in the United States? I mean, where do we stand on that? I mean, we're also the most diverse city, so it's an interesting time that we're in.
Yeah, we, up till now, we haven't been able to project ourselves like I thought that I want us to do. But now that we've finished out this building, I want to reach out to the medical center. They call it relaxation response. That's meditation. I think we have something to say about meditation that we can offer to them. A number of the hospitals are already offering alternative medicine therapies. We have quite a bit to say about that. So I think that we have in the medical field area we can work in. The spiritual denominations that we have in the city are very interesting, not just the Christian, but Muslims and Hindus. So in our study groups, which is designed for spiritual development, individual to realize, these are the techniques that Cayce offered for a person who wanted to become Christ. In his case, he's talking about not the man Jesus, but the Christ consciousness. Sometimes he makes a difference between the two. So we've had people, I've got in my study group on Thursday night, a lady who is Hindu. We've even had Muslims in our study group. I've done lectures in Iran before the revolution to Muslim people, as well as to Egypt. I traveled with Bill and Elsie Sechrist. So we have a lot to offer. Elsie Sechrist is a good example. She lived here in Houston, and she wrote the book, Dreams, Your Magic Mirror. Cayce's point of view that every night when we sleep, we're moving into an extra dimension, and we have experiences which we put into symbols, which is the language of the mind, and bring it back to our conscious mind. So she wrote the first popular book on dream interpretation. Elsie was a very shy lady, a nurse, who had heart problems and nearly died. So her husband, Bill, who founded Budget Rent-A-Car of Texas, knew about Edgar Cayce, got some readings, and she recovered. So they went to Virginia Beach, and Cayce says, you have a talent for working with dreams. So she developed that talent. Elsie, the shyness comes in is standing before a group of people and speaking. In 1970, was invited to the Soviet Academy of Science for 3 years in a row to talk to them about how to work with their dreams and developing whatever they're developing. That's fantastic, you know. So we have a view of dream interpretation and communication as part of our development. We work with dreams. So this is part of what we do. But we do deal with the international community, but I want to do more. And we will do more. Anyone else have any questions? Yes, sir.
Ed, I'm a Christian, how did Edgar Cayce reconcile the metaphysical with Christianity?
Christianity is based on the metaphysical. Every great religion started with a psychic experience. Metaphysical means changing that whole paradigm of how we see things. Cayce was a devout Christian, and he got into the area of reincarnation. When he came out of his state and realized that he told a lady that she had reincarnated from another life, or had other lifetimes, he quit the readings because it violated his Christianity. However, everything that we call metaphysics, psychic phenomena, you'll find in Scripture. Everything that we talk about, Jesus did. And Jesus said, the things you see me do, you can do, and some of you can do them even better. So it's no contradiction. A person who develops Christ consciousness is going to be a phenomenal person. We see that in the Christ. We see that in the Buddha. I believe the Christ consciousness was there with Buddha as well. So there, I find no contradiction. We have people who do find such a contradiction. In fact, I was talking to somebody just a few minutes ago. She mentioned Edgar Cayce, and the person she mentioned it to indicated that that was the work of the devil and Satan and all that. Cayce's take on the Bible was so fantastic that he constantly lectured Wednesday nights and Sundays in Sunday school everywhere he went, from the Christian church to the Presbyterian church to the Baptist church. The Baptists did kick him out, but when he got into the reincarnation part, but he was still lecturing. And he said the day will come when they study his readings side by side with the Bible.
Didn't he, like, read the Bible by falling asleep on it, and then he'd know it the next day? Or any kind of book, that in itself proves the power of his dream. Any kind of book
When he was a child, he was disciplined for not learning his lessons. This was in the 1890s and early 1900s. So he told his father in one of these discipline sessions that, let me go take a nap and lay on the book, and I'll come back and we can work. So he took a nap sleeping on the book, and when he came back, he had every aspect of the book in his mind, and he was able to answer all the questions. As far as reading the Bible, he did not sleep on the Bible. He studied the Bible and read the Bible through completely for every year of his life. So he was quite a Bible student. And the readings on the entire biblical scenario, especially the Old Testament, the life of Christ, Jesus rather, are really very interesting. Anyone else? Yes?
Did he later change his viewpoint on reincarnation as a result of those readings, or did he?
He did.
He did change his mind.
He gave himself a reading, and they told him all of his lives. So he did get into the reincarnation aspect. There are aspects to the business readings. Some of his big backers were the Blumenfeld brothers from New York. Both of them were stockbrokers. Very, very interesting readings. They got into philosophy and theology, but also business ethics and what to do to succeed in business. So we had a business conference for a while at headquarters. They've let that drop, but I'm thinking it would be a good way to pick up here. They also had a religious conference which was chaired by a Benedictine monk every year for a number of years, where these priests, ministers, and rabbis from all over the country went to A.R.E. for a ministerial conference based on the Cayce readings. They let that drop too for some reason. But we can have, you know, we're not here to challenge anybody, but we're there perhaps to supplement the religions. Edgar Cayce said that this is not to be a new religion, but whatever faith we find ourselves in that we're comfortable with, make it a better place because we're there. So one of the things I want to do is make an outreach with studying one's dreams. How can they argue with dreams? The Bible's full of dreams. And talk about going into the churches and doing workshops and perhaps study groups on just dream interpretation. So that's something I'd like to start here in Houston and see how it takes off. Offer it to all the churches. Yes?
What about the arts? Can you say very briefly what Edgar Cayce mentioned about the arts and creativity?
I can't tell you specifically any particular reading on the arts. I'm aware that there are readings about the arts. It's not something that I've particularly studied, but it's in the realm of creativity. And so if we get into the area where we're moving into our greater self, our superconscious mind, we're going to express that whichever way is normal for us. It may be the science. It may definitely be the arts. To me, most artists are inspirational people. They deal from inspiration, and they've got one step ahead of everybody else. They said in the coming age, with this change of consciousness, it will come first to the artists. Let me see if I got this right. First to the artists, then it would come to the scientists. The third would be to the politicians, and the last would be the churches. So there is some information about the arts in the Cayce readings. And as a person meditates, when you do what you love doing, that inspiration will flow. Someone else? Well, my time is just about up. I'd like to say that we have an exciting start here. And this year is going to be 2013. Needless to say, I'm not pessimistic about December 21st, 2012. Cayce never mentioned that date. He did mention the date of 2036. And he did say that we are in a period of change. He did not speak of specific dates particularly, but he saw the entire century, the 100-year period. And for the United States, he said, by the end of this century, we will not recognize the politics, the social, the economics of the United States. So we are in a period of change. Where did these readings come from? I've got a couple of more minutes, so I'll keep talking. Mr. Cayce was invited to the White House several times. The first time was under the presidency of Woodrow Wilson. Naturally, they were interested in world affairs and what was going on. In the Cayce readings, you can see the kernel of the League of Nations, which evolved into the United Nations. The theory that it's better for people to sit and talk rather than to fight. So you know that President Wilson was very big on creating the League of Nations, even though the United States did not join it. During the Roosevelt years, which was extremely disturbing and for the United States, the first couple of years there was really great concern about how that war would turn out. He was called to the White House twice, and we call those the world affairs readings. So that's where we get some of the information about what to expect in the United States. So beside the scientists, the Thomas Edisons, Nikola Tesla, the Harrisons, several other peoples in communications, beside the politics, you can see the whole span of the Cayce readings, every aspect of human life. So why is the A.R.E. relevant? Because he said things that is very relevant today and will be relevant in the future. And that's what we're all about.
And what was it about 2036 that was significant?
We're in a period where there is going to be a pole shift. And how it takes place is the question. And apparently by 2036, we'll see dramatic changes. Now, in the readings on the geological changes, there are only 17 readings, and Cayce emphasized gradual. But one of the interesting things that we say, and I do have 2 more minutes, somebody asked him about the effect of sunspots on the Earth. What he said was, they don't affect us, we cause the sunspots. So his attitude is that it's the mass mind of humanity that creates a lot of the conditions that we see in our world today. So the changes that could come geologically speaking, with the pole shift, say, they can be mitigated, not so dramatic, or they can be pretty dramatic. But he did emphasize gradual. Of course, if you're sitting where there's a fault line and you have an earthquake, that's not gradual for you. But for the rest of the world, it's not even a blip on the screen. So those are interesting readings too, the earth change readings. But I thought the fascinating thing is by the end of this century, the whole dynamics of this nation is going to be completely different. We won't recognize it if we're here. Thank you very much for attending, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I think we have a 15-minute break, and then there's going to be another speaker come on.